My name is Claire Bennett. I'm 34 years old. I live outside Nashville, Tennessee. Most mornings I work at a children's hospital, holding little hands, telling scared parents, "You're doing great. Your baby is going to be okay." That spring, I couldn't even tell myself that. My mom, Susan, had been sick for almost a year. Not the fast kind of sick, the slow, quiet kind that takes your energy first, then your laugh, then your ability to sit up on your own. Liver failure, then her kidneys, then the infections that just kept coming back no matter how many times we beat them down. The doctors started using soft words, comfort measures, quality of life, preparing your family. My aunt cried at every visit. My cousins drove 4 hours just to sit with her. My stepdad, Gerald, barely looked up from his phone. And my older brother, Derek, kept asking the nurses, "So what's the timeline here?" I thought he meant how much time we had left with her. I was so wrong. My parents split when I was 9. Mom never talked badly about Gerald after the divorce, not once. She just worked double shifts, saved every dollar she could, and raised me like love was a job you don't call in sick for. She also taught me her 3 rules. Keep copies of everything. Never sign anything you don't read twice. If someone wants you silent, your voice is the most dangerous thing in the room. I thought those were just her little sayings. I didn't know they were going to save my life. 3 years ago, Mom bought a small house on Birchwood Drive, a white porch, a big oak tree in the backyard, a garden she could never quite get right but never stopped trying. "It's mine," she told me proudly the day we moved her in. "First thing I ever owned that nobody can take." She got sick 14 months later. Every time I drove her to chemo, she'd squeeze my hand in the parking lot. "Promise me," she'd say, "don't let them bully you out of that house. It's yours when I'm gone." I promised, every time. I didn't understand yet what that promise was going to cost me. She passed on a Tuesday morning in April, quietly, the way she'd lived, without making a fuss. The nurse dimmed the lights and said we could take all the time we needed. Sandra, Gerald's new wife, didn't stay. She stepped into the hallway and whispered to Derek, loud enough that I heard every word, "We need those papers signed before she's even cold." I stood in the doorway and felt the floor shift under my feet. Derek saw me and smiled, not with grief, with impatience. "Hey, Claire Bear, can you go grab some coffee? Adults are talking." "What papers?" I asked. Sandra's smile was butter smooth. "Just hospital forms, honey. Nothing you need to worry about." I looked at Gerald. "Gerald?" He stared at the floor. "Just do what they need, Claire." He used my full name. He only did that when he wanted obedience. After everyone left, I stayed alone with her. I held her hand until it went cold. I told her I was sorry it hurt so much at the end. I told her I would keep my promise. Then I opened her bedside drawer. Mom always kept a drawer, I knew that, and inside there was a white envelope in her handwriting. "Claire, if something happens." My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. Inside was a copy of her will, her bank account numbers, a list of her policies, and one sentence written on yellow paper in red pen. "Do not trust Sandra. She will try to take Birchwood." Mom knew. Even while she was dying, she was still protecting me. 2 days later, the lawyer read the will in a small beige office with bad lighting and a plastic plant by the window. Sandra wore all black. Her nails were painted bright coral. Derek sat with his legs open and his arms crossed, like he was waiting for his name to be called at a restaurant. The lawyer cleared his throat. "Susan Bennett leaves the property at 14 Birchwood Drive to her daughter, Claire Bennett, in full." I felt air rush back into my lungs. Sandra's smile tightened like a fist. Derek leaned forward. "Is that it?" The lawyer continued. "Her life insurance, $180,000, is to be divided equally between Claire and Derek." Sandra looked at me with a smile that could cut glass. "Susan always loved you more. She wasn't quiet about it." It was meant to make me feel guilty for being loved. It almost worked. Then I thought about that yellow paper. In the parking lot, Derek pulled me aside. Be realistic. You can't afford to keep that house. Let Gerald and Sandra move in. We'll sell it in a year and split it 3 ways. No, I said. He sighed like I was a child having a tantrum. You're being selfish. There it was, the word people use when they want you to hand them everything you have and smile while you do it. Sandra called that same night. I'm coming over tomorrow. We need to talk like family. I don't want visitors right now. She laughed, soft and slow. Sweetheart, that's not how this works. She hung up. I called my best friend Maya. Maya is a paralegal. She has the kind of calm that makes panicking feel embarrassing. She listened to everything. Then she said 2 words, document everything. Sandra showed up with Derek the next afternoon holding grocery store flowers and a casserole dish, like grief was a potluck. They sat on my mother's couch without being invited. Sandra folded her hands neatly. Gerald is struggling. He needs somewhere stable. He needs the house. Derek nodded. It's the least you can do for him. I looked at them both. He didn't need the house when he left us. He didn't need it during the divorce. He didn't need it when Mom was working herself to the bone. Sandra's eyes flashed. Then her smile came back, slow and cold. We want you to sign a quitclaim deed. The room went quiet. No. Derek's voice went hard. You're going to regret this. Sandra stood up, stepped close, and said quietly, just for me, your mother raised you soft, but we can make things hard. I told them to leave. They did, but those words sat in my chest like a stone for days. The next week, strange things started happening. My credit card was declined at the pharmacy because the address on file didn't match. My mail stopped arriving. A package I'd ordered was returned to sender with a note that the address was invalid. And then my neighbor Diane texted me a photo, a for sale sign planted in the front yard of Birchwood Drive, Sandra's name on the contact card. I drove so fast I ran a yellow light. The porch swing moved gently in the wind. The sign didn't move at all. My phone buzzed. Do this with or without you. I stood on the sidewalk in front of my mother's house with my hands shaking, and I remembered her rule. Keep copies. I took photos of the sign, the lockbox, the realtor's flyer. Then I hit record on my phone, because if they wanted a quiet victim, they chose the wrong daughter. Maya connected me with a real estate attorney named James Kroll. He was calm and precise, and he asked me one question before anything else. Have you signed any documents since your mother passed? Not a single one. He nodded once. Then let's see what they filed. 3 days later, James called. Sit down, he said. I sat. He said the deed for Birchwood was transferred last Wednesday to an LLC, signed supposedly by Claire Bennett. They didn't just try to take the house, they had already taken it. I couldn't speak. I sat there with the phone against the wall and just stared at the wall. James' voice was steady. If the signature is forged, we can reverse it, but we need proof and we need to move fast. That night, I drove to Gerald's house. Sandra opened the door before I even knocked, like she'd been watching for me. Derek was on the couch with a beer, relaxed, like none of it was a big deal. Gerald sat in his recliner, looking old and tired, and deliberately somewhere else in his mind. I held up my phone with the county records pulled up. Why is my name on a deed transfer I never signed? Sandra didn't flinch. We're handling estate matters. I didn't sign anything. Derek shrugged. Must have forgotten. I turned to Gerald. Did you know about this? He opened his mouth. I closed it. Sandra said you agreed. You believed her over me? My voice broke on the last word. He looked at the floor. That silence was its own kind of answer. Sandra took a step toward me. Don't make this ugly. I raised my chin. You forged my signature. Her smile didn't move. Prove it. I looked at her face, calm, certain, practiced, and something in me went very still. Okay, I said quietly. I will. James filed an emergency notice to freeze the sale. He contacted the title company, the real estate agent, and requested the original signed deed through county records. Maya did something small and brilliant. She sent a private message to mutual family contacts. If anyone has been asked to witness or notarize documents for Claire Bennett, please call her directly before doing anything. 2 days later, a message came in from a woman named Patty, Sandra's cousin. Claire, I'm so sorry. Sandra asked me to notarize a deed. You weren't there. She said you were too upset to come in person. Something felt wrong the whole time. I should have called you. I'm so sorry. James read it and set his pen down. That's our witness. Sandra held a family dinner the next Sunday. Church friends, neighbors, cousins, a crowd. She wanted witnesses. Derek texted me, "Come, be the bigger person." James looked at the invite and said, "Then we walk in on our terms." The dinner smelled like pot roast and performance. Sandra greeted me at the door with open arms and a voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "Claire, baby, I'm so glad you came. It's time for us to heal." I smiled back. I agree. James walked in behind me with a